The relentless Arizona sun beat down on the small dusty town of Redemption, baking the asphalt until it shimmered and blurred the distant saguaros. Inside the local animal shelter, a symphony of barks, meows, and chirps usually filled the air, a constant reminder of the lives seeking new homes. But today, a new peculiar sound had everyone in a state of amused bewilderment. It started subtly, a soft, almost ethereal cooing like a distant dove, then shifted with uncanny precision to a surprisingly accurate squirrel chatter, followed by the faint, melancholic hooting of an owl, seemingly echoing from within the shelter walls. Elena Rodriguez, the shelter's kind-hearted manager, a woman whose life revolved around the welfare of every creature under her care, traced the mysterious sounds to a large, vibrant macaw named Zephyr. His feathers were a dazzling kaleidoscope of electric blues, emerald greens, and sunny yellows, a living rainbow in the otherwise utilitarian space. Yet it was his astonishing vocal mimicry, not his striking appearance, that truly set him apart. Zephyr had been a recent surrender, his previous owners, an elderly couple, forced to move into an assisted living facility that couldn't accommodate such a magnificent bird. He had arrived quiet and watchful, observing his new surroundings with an intelligent, almost discerning glint in his eye. For the first few days he was merely a beautiful, silent presence. Then, one crisp morning, a stray tabby cat, notorious for its independent spirit, wandered too close to his cage, letting out a territorial hiss, sharp and defiant. To everyone's utter shock, Zephyr not only mimicked the hiss perfectly, a sound so accurate it made the cat jump, but followed it with a series of increasingly complex animal sounds. He reproduced the booming barks of the shelter's largest dogs, the soft, kneading meows of the resident felines, and even the distinct melodious calls of wild finches and sparrows that perched on the power lines outside the windows. Eleanor, a lifelong animal lover who had witnessed countless remarkable creatures, was utterly captivated. She spent hours by his cage, her gaze fixed on the intelligent bird, marveling at the breadth and precision of his evolving repertoire. He was more than a parrot. He was a living, breathing soundscape. One sweltering afternoon, as the temperatures soared past 100 degrees, the sky in the distance began to darken ominously. A powerful, unseasonable dust storm rolled in, a massive, swirling orange cloud that rapidly enveloped Redemption, blanketing everything in a thick, choking haze. The wind howled with a primal fury, rattling the windows of the old shelter building, making them groan under the pressure. Amidst the increasing chaos and the dimming light, a terrified whimper, barely audible but piercingly real, cut through the noise. A small scruffy terrier mix, recently rescued from a desolate roadside and still skittish, had managed to slip its collar in a moment of panic and bolted out the back door, disappearing into the swirling orange oblivion. Elena and her dedicated team sprang into action, their voices calling out the dog's name, "Buster, Buster!" But the wind swallowed their words, rendering them useless against the storm's roar. Suddenly Zephyr's cage, usually a source of curious sounds, burst with an entirely different kind of noise. He wasn't just imitating, he was creating a terrifying symphony of distress calls, the frantic yelps of a lost dog, mimicking Buster's own panicked cries with heartbreaking accuracy, the desperate squawk of a truly frightened bird, the guttural, desperate cries of a trapped animal. It was a cacophony of pure, unadulterated urgency, unlike anything he had done before. Elena, her heart pounding, understood. Zephyr wasn't just mimicking for amusement, he was trying to communicate a genuine, immediate alarm guiding them. Following the direction of his most intense and specific calls, a lifeline in the blinding dust, she ventured into the swirling orange abyss, hoping against hope that his extraordinary empathetic ability could guide her to Buster. The weight of the moment pressed down on her, but the parrot's urgent cries propelled her forward. If you're finding Zephyr's incredible story as captivating as we do, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for more amazing animal adventures and inspiring tales. Remember, this is a fictional story created for entertainment purposes. The dust storm raged with an almost biblical intensity, making visibility almost zero. The air was thick with abrasive sand, stinging Elena's eyes and coating her tongue. She pushed against the furious wind, her body leaning into the gale. her focus solely on the increasingly desperate and specific sounds emanating from Zephyr inside the shelter. His cries intensified with every agonizing step she took, shifting from a general alarm to highly specific, frantic barks that sounded eerily and unmistakably like the lost terrier, Buster. She knew Buster was an incredibly nervous dog, prone to panic attacks even in calm environments, and the sheer force and disorientation of the storm were undoubtedly terrifying him, pushing him to his limits. The wind whipped her hair across her face and stung her exposed skin, making every breath a gritty struggle. But Zephyr's relentless guiding calls, a constant beacon of sound through the chaos, spurred her onward. She knew she couldn't give up. She moved slowly, painstakingly around the side of the building, her hand extended, feeling along the rough concrete wall. The sounds from Zephyr now seemed to concentrate, leading her directly towards a disused, overgrown corner of the yard, where a cluster of discarded crates and old rusting equipment lay half-buried. The dust swirled even thicker here, a suffocating, churning vortex that created an almost impenetrable orange-brown wall around her. Just as a cold knot of despair began to form in her stomach, making her question the futility of her search, a faint, real whimper, barely audible above the storm's shriek, reached her ears. It was unmistakably Buster. He was huddled, shivering violently, under a rusty metal sheet that had been partially dislodged by a violent gust of wind, creating a small, dark, and terrifying trap for him. His eyes, when she finally peered into the gloom, were wide with primal fear, reflecting the last sliver of fading light. Carefully, Elena began to pry the heavy, jagged sheet away from the ground, her muscles straining. The rusted metal groaned in protest, a harsh grating sound against the wind's roar. It was a monumental struggle, the sheet heavy and cumbersome, but as she strained with every ounce of her strength, a new, distinct sound cut through Zephyr's cacophony back at the shelter, a series of deep, resonant, almost percussive squawks, unlike anything he had mimicked before. It was almost as if he was mimicking the creaking of the metal she struggled against, or perhaps even a unique, encouraging sound, a cheer from afar. Whether it was her imagination, fueled by adrenaline and desperation, or Zephyr truly was offering a unique form of remote support, it gave Elena the renewed surge of strength she desperately needed. With a final, guttural grunt, the sheet lifted just enough for Buster to scramble out, whimpering softly and immediately pressing his trembling body against her legs, burying his face in her side, safe at last. Back inside the relative calm of the shelter, as if on cue, the dust storm began its slow retreat, its fury gradually subsiding. Zephyr's frantic guiding calls slowly diminished, replaced by softer, contented chirps and gentle, rhythmic clicks, sounds of relief and perhaps even pride. Elena knelt cradling Buster, who was still trembling but now beginning to calm, his small body heavy with gratitude against hers. The bond between them, a human and a rescued animal, felt immeasurably stronger, forged and tested in the terrifying heart of the storm. Everyone at the shelter looked at Zephyr with a newfound awe, a reverence for his extraordinary capabilities. He wasn't just a mimic, he was an empath, a profound communicator who had used his uncanny gift to bridge the gap between species, to guide them to safety in a moment of crisis. His unique connection to the animals, his uncanny ability to convey their deepest emotions through their own specific sounds, was truly remarkable, a testament to the profound intelligence and compassion hidden within the animal kingdom. News of Zephyr's incredible, heroic act during the dust storm spread like wildfire, first through the small, close-knit community of Redemption, then rapidly beyond its borders. People from neighboring towns, and even a few from distant cities, started making the journey to visit the humble shelter, not just with intentions of adoption, but specifically to witness the talking parrot, who had, against all odds, saved a lost dog. Zephyr, seemingly unfazed by his newfound fame and the constant stream of curious onlookers, continued his daily routine of mimicking the shelter's diverse residents. His repertoire expanded with each passing day, becoming a living sound archive of the shelter's vibrant life. He could perfectly imitate the playful yips of energetic puppies, the low rumbling purr of a contented cat curled up in a sunbeam, and even the distinctive thunderous snore of old Duke, the resident bulldog, who served as the shelter's gentle, snoring mascot. But the most heartwarming and profound aspect of Zephyr's extraordinary gift was not just his ability to mimic, but how he intuitively used it to bridge the gap between the animals themselves, fostering a unique sense of community within the shelter. When a new shy kitten would arrive, terrified and huddled in a corner, Zephyr would often respond to its timid, uncertain meows with comforting, gentle purrs, seemingly designed to reassure the trembling newcomer. He'd talk to the more boisterous and rambunctious dogs with enthusiastic barks that perfectly matched their playful energy, then subtly shift to softer, calming tones if they became too excited, almost coaxing them into a more relaxed state. He became an unofficial interpreter, a feathered ambassador of interspecies understanding, fostering harmony and empathy within the bustling shelter environment. He was a living, breathing testament to the power of communication, transcending the boundaries of species. One quiet Tuesday afternoon, a young boy named Leo visited the shelter with his mother. Leo was a withdrawn and quiet child, struggling with selective mutism, a condition that rendered him unable to speak in certain social situations. He found immense solace and comfort in the presence of animals, his eyes lighting up around them, but he rarely, if ever, spoke. As he sat silently near Zephyr's cage, his gaze fixed on the colorful bird, a shy elderly beagle named Penny, often overlooked for adoption due to her age, whimpered softly from her kennel, a sound of loneliness. Zephyr, without hesitation, responded with a series of gentle, comforting whines, perfectly mimicking Penny's distinct vocalizations, a sound of empathy. Then he shifted, making a soft, almost imperceptible sound, a delicate, high-pitched hello that was uniquely his own, a sound he rarely, if ever, made for anyone else. It was his signature greeting, reserved for moments of profound connection. Leo, who hadn't uttered a single word in months, looked up, a flicker of surprise and dawning understanding in his eyes. He slowly, hesitantly, reached out a small finger towards Zephyr, and then, to the utter astonishment and tearful joy of his mother and Elena, he whispered, barely audible, "Hello, Zephyr." It was a small sound, barely audible above the background hum of the shelter, but it was a monumental breakthrough, a glimmer of hope. Zephyr tilted his head, his bright eyes fixed on Leo, letting out a soft, almost triumphant chirrup, a sound of pure joy and accomplishment. In that profound moment, it wasn't about mimicking animal sounds anymore. It was about raw, authentic connection, about deep understanding, and about the extraordinary, transformative power of an unexpected bond. Zephyr, the parrot who could imitate over 20 animal sounds, had truly found his unique voice and purpose in the last, most beautiful sound of all, the sound of pure, unadulterated understanding, helping a struggling boy find his own voice and a shy, forgotten dog find comfort and a sense of belonging. His legacy was not just in his mimicry, but in the bridges he built, heart by heart. Thank you for watching Zephyr's incredible journey and for being a part of our community. If you were moved by this heartwarming story, please subscribe to our channel for more captivating tales, inspiring animal content, and real-life stories that touch the heart. Remember, this story is a work of fiction, crafted to entertain and inspire.